Whoever the hereafter was the most important thing to him, Jama Allahu alayhi shamlahu. Allah will bring for him his affairs together. وَجَعَلَ غِنَاهُ بَيْنَ عَيْنَيْهِ وَجَاءَتْهُ الدُّنْيَا رَغْمًا عَنْ نَفْسِهَا. Allah will put his affairs together, and he will put richness right between his very eyes, meaning whatever he receives, he'll be content. And the dunya will come to him despite itself. It'll come. Raghm and nafsiha. It's going to come. So the point is, there are many ways to connect your affairs. One of the best ways of connecting your affairs is through that prayer. So before the prayer, the Nabi used to say to the people, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whoever connects the saf, Allah will connect him. Whoever disconnects the saf, Allah will disconnect him, which is a serious indication that we have to take advantage and we have to implement that sunnah of not destroying and disconnecting the safs. You don't go to any masjid in this dunya practically, except we have the people in the masjid who this thing about children between the lines is there. The child is 3, 4, 5, has no wudu, doesn't know what he's doing, and he stands between the father so that the father can take care of the child. That's haram in the deen of Allah, and you're sinning when you do that. You have to go to the back of the line, or you have to go to the end and your child is on the side, or you have to put your child over and sit by himself, pray with the kids. If your child doesn't know how to pray, then you shouldn't bring him to the masjid in this issue. You can't say it's better to break the saf and bring him to the masjid so he can learn the salah. No, the saf, it has a responsibility that has to be taken care of. So the shad of all of that kalam is as-salat as-salat. Number 3, ikhwani, from what I think all Muslims know, certain surahs of the Quran are more important than others. All of the Quran is the kalam of Allah, but all of the Quran is not the same. Meaning, certain surah have more virtues than others. Surah Al-Fatiha is the greatest surah of the Quran. Ayatul Kursi is the greatest ayat of the Quran. You go to any community, many people memorized Yasin. And they memorized Yasin because of the weak hadith. There's nothing authentic about the virtues of Yasin. Nothing in the dunya. Yasin is what you read it for. Read Yasin over your dead. All of those issues. Everything has a heart, and the heart of the Quran is Yasin. All of those ahadith are fabricated. There are some authentic incidents about ayat in Surah Yasin, but the virtues of the surah, nothing. So the question is, why, wherever you go, Muslims memorize Yasin, which is good? I don't know. It doesn't have any special virtue. But one of the surahs that have virtues in the Quran, and it is a protection from the Dajjal, as everybody knows, is Surah Al-Kahf. Surah Al-Kahf, the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to encourage the people to connect themselves to Surah Al-Kahf. And he said, if anyone memorizes من حفظ 10 آيات من أول سورة الكهف عصم من فتنة الدجال. Anyone who memorized the first 10 ayat from Surah Al-Kahf, he would be ma'soom. He would be divinely protected from a Dajjal. Divinely. That hadith said the beginning, the first 10 ayat. There's another authentic hadith that says the last 10 ayat. And both of them are authentic. One says the first 10, and that's in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim. And the second one said the last 10, Abu Darda, the last 10, in the Mu'jam al-Kabir by Imam al-Tabarani. So we should try to memorize the whole surah. It's like Al-Ikhlas, Qul Huwallahu Ahad. Anyone who reads it one time, it equals a third of the Quran. If you read it 3 times, it's as if you read the whole Quran. But what about all of those other ayat and those other surah that you didn't read? So you read that, and it's like you read all of the Quran, but you have to read that other stuff, the other ayat and surah, to really be a person who read all of the Quran. Al-Kahf is like that. Memorize those 20 ayat, first 10, last 10, but don't stop there. Try to memorize all of the surah. The scholar said from the wisdom of Surah Al-Kahf, protecting an individual from the Dajjal is because in the story of Surah Al-Kahf are ayat that clearly show people Allah Ta'ala's power, the ability to cause the Ashab al-Kahf, those young men, to be dead for all of those years. And Allah, the one who really gives life, brought them back to life again. The story of Ya'juj and Ma'juj, the story of Khidr, and all that is contained in the surah. Person reads that, he knows it's from Allah. Whereas when a Dajjal comes with his falsehood and so forth and so on, it'll be clearly an indication that he is the Masih Ad-Dajjal, who's a kadhab, and he's not bringing to the table what the ayat of the Surah Al-Kahf are bringing to the table. Before moving on to the next one, for the students of knowledge who are here, there's a big scholar of hadith right now. He is from Egypt. He came to Canada years ago. His name is Abu Ishaq al-Huwaini. He's from the people of knowledge. And if you're an Egyptian or if you're an Arab, I would advise you, go to the YouTube, go to the different websites where his knowledge is placed before you, and come to know him. As I mentioned, he came to this country in the 90s, and not very many people were aware of his reality. He's a bona fide scholar of hadith. Al-Albani, rahimahullah ta'ala, met with him when he went to Jordan, and it was one of the most famous meetings between Al-Albani and any other human being from the students of knowledge and from the Sheikh. Al-Albani praised him and said a lot of good things about him. Anyway, because he's so famous, many people have heard and many people know that he said to read Surah Al-Kahf is an innovation on the Friday because the hadith is weak and he doesn't see it as being authentic. When a student of knowledge sees something like that, we have to look at the situation. If you really believe that, and you researched his ba'th, you researched what he said, and you're convinced about what he said, then take that position and make dawah to it, and don't be afraid. But don't accuse the Sheikh just because he went against Al-Albani, just because he came with an issue that's not well known, or many people never heard that in their lives. Everybody thinks that Surah Al-Kahf, no doubt, that hadith is authentic. Everything that you heard doesn't mean that it's right, and everything that you didn't hear doesn't mean that it's wrong. Not at all. Many people never knew that it's the last 10 ayahs as well. There's a hadith that says the last 10 ayahs of Al-Kahf, and a hadith that says the first 10 ayahs. I just want to address this with the brothers who are students, and these types of issues should not be issues that we have al-wala wal-bara upon. We have to have the etiquette of al-adab, the adab al-ikhtilaf. The Sheikh has his ijtihad. I think he was wrong. Hafidhahullahu ta'ala wa shafahullah. I think he was wrong in what he said, but we're not going to have wala wa bara. He went against what Al-Albani said. How could he? What kind of knowledge is that? That's not knowledge in the deen. If you believe that that's correct, then go with it. And I would advise, don't be muta'assib to any human being. Just have a ta'assub to the truth, and that's it. So reading Surah Al-Kahf, the first 10 ayat and the last 10 ayat are from those issues. Number 4, ikhwani, and this is really important from many angles. Number 4 is that if a person wants to be protected from the Dajjal, then let him not go to the Dajjal in the first place. That's what the Prophet told us to do. That's what he commanded us to do. That's what he said that we should do. Sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam. In an authentic hadith, he said, "Man sami'a bid-Dajjal falyan'a anhu, fawallahi inna ar-rajul ليأتيه وهو يحسب أنه مؤمن فيتبعه مما يبعث به من الشبهات." He said, if any of you hears about the Dajjal, then don't go to him. Go the other way. Don't go to him. Because I swear by Allah, wallahi, a man will come to a Dajjal, and the man would think that he is a mu'min. He would think that he's a believer. His religion is strong. But he'll find himself following the Dajjal because of the shubahat that Dajjal has been given. The shubahat that are going to be a threat to any and everybody. The biggest scholar will be under siege, and his Islam will be threatened if he goes and he listens to that Dajjal. From this comes a very important principle in al-Islam. From what? the ulama of al-hadith were upon, the people of the sunnah, and what we should be upon in our Islam and in our dunya as well. And that is people of innovation, people of al-ma'asiyah, people who are criminals. This hadith shows you should avoid those people. This hadith is a proof that you don't go to people of innovation. You don't learn from them and you don't pray in their masjids. Right next to your house is a masjid of people who believe that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is Hazir Nazir. The Prophet never died. The Imam is really on that. The people are on that. The people raise Imams above Rasulullah. They're with the group that are problematic. They don't believe in the hadith. Although we don't say that they are kuffar because the dalil hasn't been proven on them or because they may be ignorant, they curse the companions. That masjid is right next to your house. Avoid the masjid and go a bit further to a masjid of the sunnah. If it's too difficult to go to a masjid that's further and they're not falling into kufr, then you can pray in there. I'm sure that the Sheikh Hamid At-Tawajiri mentioned that from the Asl Sunnah book that he's teaching, that Ahl Sunnah see the permissibility of praying behind any and every Muslim as long as he doesn't fall into an innovation that takes him outside of Islam. So if a person is cursing the companions and he's ignorant, we're going to pray behind him. If we're in his house, go to a masjid, he's in the salah, we're not going to ask him, what do you believe about this, believe about that? We're going to pray. But if you can avoid that masjid and go to the place where the people on the sunnah, then it is better. He says, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, to his companions who were Arabs and they knew about camels. He said, la yuradu al-jamal al-musah ma jamal al-marid. If you are a man who owns camels, you have some camels or some sheep or whatever, then you shouldn't allow the camel that is well, he has good health. Don't allow him to drink from the water, the trough, with the camel that's sick. Those camels have worms in their noses. They have worms in their knees and elbows. And as a result of that, when they drink, those worms come into the water. So when the camel that doesn't have a disease drinks, then that well camel is going to be affected. So this is how the Nabi, over 1400 years ago, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was teaching this whole process and this principle that the medical field has today. Someone has some disease, TB, tuberculosis. He has hepatitis. The doctor, they put them in a special place in quarantine. Put people who are sick by themselves so they can get well. This issue of a ta'un, if a disease comes, the Nabi said, if that disease comes, don't go into that city. If it comes while you're there, don't go out of that city. It's common sense. Those same hadith and principles apply in your deen, in your religion. This man over here, he curses the companions. Don't go listen to him. That one over here, he believes in this, he believes in that. Don't go listen to him. And that's because, as Sheikh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah said, a person's heart is like a sponge, the way it is, especially young people. It's like a sponge. It has the ability and the propensity to absorb what is being given to it. So it has to be divinely protected. And part of that is not marrying your daughter off to a relative who curses the companions. That's common. In some of the parts of the world we come from, I don't curse the companions. I don't curse him where I come from. I don't curse him. Me and my family don't curse him. But my uncles, daughters, my uncle and my aunties, they curse. So from our custom is my daughter has to marry one of her cousins related to them. He has to marry Ghulam Hussein, Sajid Hussein. So I go ahead and do it because of the pressure. This hadith of Ad-Dajjal tells you, don't do that. Don't do that. You tell those people, no, there's a disease over there in what you're thinking, and I don't want my daughter to go off the mark and to become of those people. So that's one of the main benefits of this hadith of Ad-Dajjal. Avoiding him, you won't have any problems, and avoid people who are similar to him, people of innovation, people of shirk, people of Masih, people doing crimes. That's one of the benefits of that hadith of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Also, ikhwani, from what will protect an individual divinely from what Allah Ta'ala has legislated is Mecca and Al-Medina. As we mentioned yesterday, the Dajjal will come to those two cities, and on each gate of those cities, gates that we can't see, there are malaika who are guarding those two cities. He will come to Al-Medina and encamp outside of Al-Medina. Medina will have 3 earthquakes. The munafiqeen and the munafiqat, men and women, will leave and they will join his army. So if a person is in Al-Medina, he should stay in Al-Medina. He shouldn't make hijrah to a Sham or other than a Sham. Medina is better for them if they only knew. But there is a hadith that added on to those two places. He also said that Ad-Dajjal won't be able to go into Al-Bayt al-Maqdis. And he also said that Ad-Dajjal won't be able to go on the mountain of Tur, where Isa ibn Maryam, where Musa went and received the Torah from Allah Azza wa Jal. So you have to add on to Mecca and Medina. He says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, about the Dajjal in a long hadith, La ya'ti arba'ata masajida, al-Ka'ba, wa masjid Rasulillahi, wal masjid al-Aqsa, wa Tur. The Dajjal won't be able to enter into 4 masjids. He called them 4 masjids, although one is a mountain. And they said he called Tur a mountain because the people who go there will build a masjid there and they'll be praying there. He won't be able to go into Mecca. He won't be able to go into the masjid of Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He won't be able to go into Bayt al-Maqdis, and he won't be able to go to At-Tur, which is that mountain in Asham, where Musa went and received the revelation. Concerning Masjid al-Aqsa, it is the 3rd most important masjid in al-Islam, and there's a lot of misunderstandings concerning Masjid al-Aqsa. Some people think that that picture of the golden minaret, that dome on the rock, is Masjid al-Aqsa, and it's not even the masjid. Masjid al-Aqsa is a bit over. Praying in the Prophet, praying in Mecca, one prayer there is 100,000